me add myself to the live stream. There we go. Hi, everybody. This is Gayle. Welcome to my channel. We have already got April in here today. Had some problems getting my notes for today right off of the printer, so sorry about the delay there, but I'm very glad to see you. April, how are things going? I hope things are going well. Let me go ahead and post a reminder to our Facebook group. Give me just a second here. And we'll get started. Today is going to be a busy, busy day for us. I've got a lot of things to talk about. We're talking about Alaska today. And this is a place where I've been several times. I also want to encourage you, because we do this at 10 on Tuesdays when I don't have a tech issue. I also want to encourage you to like the video if you enjoy this live stream, and definitely subscribe to the channel, because that's the only way you're going to get all the information on the Travel Tuesday trivia and all of the other great videos that we have. So you're going to want to subscribe and click that bell. Make sure you get those notifications, okay? And of course, if you have not followed us on Facebook, this is a great time to do that. It's facebook.com/groups/Gayle Vlogs, GaylevLogs. And we have just been joined again by Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man the Hero. Sorry about that, Peter. We're talking about Alaska, so I've got the parkas on my brain. Okay. So we've got April and Spider-Man, and I'm posting that reminder right now to the group, and then we're going to go ahead and get started today. Peter, how are you? I hope things are going well. They're in a group. Sharing that now. And we already have our service dog in here, so if we do have whining, that's why. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that's posted, and we are good to go. We are very good to go. Okay, so Peter Parker and April, welcome, and just dive in. I also want to encourage you all to ask questions as we go along. So if there's anything that you want to know about Alaska or traveling there, obviously I don't know everything, because you can't know everything about the state, but I can answer some of your questions. Okay. So I guess one of the first things that I get asked about Alaska is daylight versus dark. So it's somewhat true that Alaska has several months of close to constant daylight, but how much daylight you get in the summer depends partially on where you are and partially on the time of year. Those of us in the lower 48 who have always heard, oh, darkness and light, automatically think that Alaska is 24 hours of daylight all the time during the summer. Well, in actuality, you have a lot of daylight going on up until even, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning if you're in, say, Willow, Alaska. And then it kind of goes to twilight, and it starts opening up into daytime. But you do have a little bit of darkness there. Now, in contrast, if you go farther south into Homer, then you may have about 2-3 hours of heavy twilight, I'll say, even actually going into dark. Now, this is if you're there, like, say, middle of July going on into August, or I'll say late July going into August. But if you go up to the Arctic Circle, things change, and that's where you get your near 24 hours of daylight. And this period actually only lasts for a few weeks. And it's similar with darkness. I understand. Now, this is what I've been told, okay, about darkness. I haven't been up there yet other than during the summer. But what I'm told about darkness is it's the same thing. If you're close to the Arctic Circle or even beyond that, then you get, your few months of darkness there, 6 and 6. If you're closer to Willow, which is more about 3/4 of the way down the state, then you have a few hours of daylight. And if you go down to Homer, you have a few more hours of daylight. Still lots of darkness, but I kind of wanted to dispel that notion because it's one of the things that we get asked. And as far as 24 hours of daylight, you may get a trivia question on that in just a little bit. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's dark in here. Let me flick the light on. There we go. Get some background light going on. All right. So we're going into the trivia. Something else that I wanted to mention, and you may get a question on this in a few minutes, is the Iditarod. Now, hopefully, most of us have heard about the Iditarod in the lower 48, and that is the sled dog race that happens. There are actually 2 starting points for the Iditarod. One of them is in Willow, Alaska, and one is in Anchorage, okay? What they do on the Iditarod is they all go down to Anchorage. That is a ceremonial start, okay? Anchorage is the largest city in Alaska. It's also one that the press can get in for easier because when you fly into Alaska, you're probably going to fly into Anchorage. Now, from there, you're going to catch the other planes to go like over into like the Dutch Harbor area or on up to Fairbanks and beyond. But you're probably going to fly directly into Anchorage. So what they do is they have the ceremonial start in Anchorage, and the next day they have a restart, and that restart is like the official actual start of the Iditarod. And that runs from Willow. Little known fact about the Iditarod. Hi, Irene. How are you? Welcome, Iron Firehorse. Little known fact about the Iditarod is they do it 2 different routes. One route even years, one route odd years, unless there is no snow. So a couple of times they've actually had to move the Iditarod, the actual start, from Willow on up north Fairbanks because there wasn't enough snow down in Willow to be able to accommodate the dog sleds safely. So that's a big thing. So let's see. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Let's see. I think April had to step out apparently, so it's Peter and Iron Firehorse. Well, this may make it easy for you all to win the shout outs. Yeah. Okay. So, maybe a question for you. I want to see if either of you know the answer. We just talked about the Iditarod there. And this is yes or no. Yes, gotta have snow. Irene's totally right. So, question. This is for a shout out on our next video. You guys can see below where I have linked folks who got shout outs last week and also our Superchat Star. So if you win I can't talk today. So if you win a shout out this week, then that's where you'll be next week. And we've got Happy Trails Hiking that has just stopped in. Good morning, Happy Trail Hiking. How are you today? All right, so shout out question on the Iditarod. It's yes or no, and I just want you to type the answers in the chat room. Okay. Does the Iditarod focus around the serum run, or is there more to it? Yes or no? Yes. The Iditarod is all about the serum run and serum run only, or no, it is not. Iron Fire Horse is saying yes. Happy Trails Hiking is saying yes. Peter Parker Hero says yes. No, it is not. The Iditarod race actually commemorates the entire Iditarod Historic Trail. Historic Trail begins in Seward, Alaska. That trail runs on farther north, and Seward, Alaska. I've got my shirt on here for Seward. Seward is actually mile 0 of the National Iditarod Historic Trail. Now, when it came to the serum run, the serum was brought in, 20 pounds of serum was brought into Seward, mile 0. Then it went to Nenana, Alaska. And then from Nenana, that's where the Great Race of Mercy, what we would think of as the serum run, actually started. So it went from Nenana, and then they took it on to Nome. But the entire trail was a supply line to get supplies in. So Iron Fire Horse came in the middle of the explanation, and she needs coffee. Okay. Well, Iditarod actually commemorates the entire historic trail. So the race, we think in the lower 48 about it being just about the serum run, but it's not. That was actually a supply line that they used to bring not just the serum, but other supplies in. And of course, at that time, they had to bring the serum in through Seward and on up the trail because planes could not fly in the extreme temperatures of Alaska because of the way it was at the time. I thought that was interesting. A couple of other quick facts about the Iditarod. Happened in 1925, the Great Race of Mercy. The serum came in, and it ran, once it was loaded on mile 0, it actually went by train to Nenana, and then going on up by sled dogs. Okay, Balto. He is the finisher of getting the serum into Nome. But there is actually a sled dog that is credited for having run the longest, hardest stretch and is considered to be the hero of the Iditarod. It's not Balto. Does anyone here know what it is? What the dog's name is? If you get this, you're getting a shout out by Twitter and by Facebook. Give you just a minute to answer here. Happy Trails Hiking says no. Iron Fire Horse says, I love Canadian history. I always think of Alaska as being Canada. It is. You have to, in some sense, because Canada, especially on that kind of northeast extreme portion where it borders Canada, Canada has had a lot of influence on the development of Alaska in that area, and Alaska has had a lot of influence on Canada. So, yeah. Okay. Well, the horse. Listen, I started to say horse. Sorry. Getting ready to go to Kentucky, so I also have horses on my brain. Sorry about that. Going back to Alaska, the dog that is credited for running the longest, hardest stretch and is often thought of as being the hero of the serum race, Great Race of Mercy, is a dog named Pogo, P-O-G-O. Now, I took this information off of a website about the Iditarod, and it says, because I want to make sure I get like the facts right. And that says Norwegian-born Leonard Stepela departed Shoutout on, which is a stop on the National Iditarod Historic Trail. started on January 31 on an epic 91-mile leg. Now, give you some kind of basis of comparison, the other dogs ran about 30 miles. So here we have this one dog team led by Togo that went 91 miles. But here's the thing. They had already rushed 170 miles from Nome to intercept the relay. And that's when he decided to take, he the musher, which is Leonard Cebola, decided to take a shortcut because he knew if he could make it across it, it would cut off time. So he took the shortcut over the frozen Norton Sound. So he is running on a frozen lake, and get this, they were in the teeth of a gale that, according to this, dropped the wind chill factor to negative 85 degrees. So you have a sled dog team running across a frozen lake with winds and the wind chill of negative 85 degrees. Togo was a 12-year-old Siberian Husky, and he had already logged, according to this, tens of thousands of miles. Now, for us to think about a 12-year-old dog, we have a tendency sometimes to picture a dog that's just kind of laying around, not really able to do much, not really got much going on. But here we have a 12-year-old Siberian Husky running all these miles in wind chills of negative 85 on the frozen ice, and the fierce winds were starting to break up. It's actually the Adriatic Sea that they were running on along the Norton Sound. And so the ice was starting to crack up, and it broke up actually about 30 minutes after they arrived to meet the next driver. The frozen cracking ice, so that scene that you see, and like if you see the Disney movie Balto, that scene where the ice is breaking up, of course, they grandize it a little bit, but it happened with Togo. That didn't happen with Balto. But so they went through the coastline, and then they were able to meet Charlie Olson, who ran 25 miles on land. Still cold, but negative 40 versus negative 85. And then they handed it off to Gunnar Casson, which Balto was his lead dog, and their team is the final team that got it into Nome. And of course, from there, we know that that serum saved the town. So the National Iditarod Trail was used to transport the serum. The Iditarod race goes on much, much more deeper history than just the serum, because it also was used with transportation of supplies, mining supplies, and so forth. But it was already in existence when they did the serum run, and had it not been in existence, you can imagine how long it would have taken it. Iditarod today also starts out, like we said, in Willow, but those teams run full length the Iditarod from Willow to Nome, no matter which route, whether it's a northern route, southern route, or in case if they have to switch it to Fairbanks, then they run that route to Nome. Those teams run one team the length of the route. This Great Race of Mercy, serum was being passed off to different relay teams until it finally arrived. Hey, we got Dr. Dan 3 in the house. Hello, Dr. Dan 3. How are you? That's an enormous difference in the two races, if you will, the race to save lives versus the race for the Iditarod. So let's go back and talk about the Arctic Circle and daylight versus dark. If you were in here, we talked about that earlier. Is it true that Willow, Alaska, for example, will have 24 hours of full and complete daylight in the summer? Yes or no? This is for a shout out. Oh, Irene says she's back, that her phone is shut down. Ah, well, welcome back. What about that? Okay, Irene also has asked, what about the driver? Holy doodle. Okay. Iron Fire Horse says yes. Okay, well, the actual answer is no, because they do have some darkness during the summer. So they'll have like an hour or two. Further north, Arctic Circle, further north beyond, then yes, it is a solid 24 hours of daylight. So we were actually up there. A fun fact, if you get to the Arctic Circle in Alaska, you can drive into Fairbanks, spend the night in Fairbanks, and drive up to the Arctic Circle, turn around, and come back. That is a hugely long drive. Up there by the Arctic Circle in Alaska, there's actually a BLM campground. So if you're like me and you're in a van camper, or if you have camping gear, then that BLM campground is free. There's no charge for it. I'd say it's really nice and level compared to some of the campgrounds that I've been in. So, and it's fairly well maintained, but we're not talking about plush. This is a free campground site. So you've got fire rings and so forth, but don't expect to have hot showers, shall we say, because don't expect to have showers at all. I would strongly recommend that if you camp and if you can, that you not make the trip. Irene, I got you. But I would strongly recommend that you not try to make the trip in one day, that you take your time and drive up there. You will see the Alaska pipeline as you drive up. Do make sure that you get gas in Fairbanks, because otherwise you're going to pay a premium. The only other place to get gas between Fairbanks and the Arctic Circle, you've got the Yukon River crossing, and then you've got like Deadwood and Coldfoot and stuff like that. I strongly recommend Fairbanks. Okay, it's easier. Get it. You can stop. You can get it at the Walmart in Fairbanks. If you get it at Yukon River crossing, the price really, really, really backs up there. We paid $5 a gallon a few years ago, and it was a little higher than that when I checked the price through Gas Buddy on the last trip. And we didn't get to drive on up to the Arctic Circle on this last trip, but I priced it out and was thinking that we would get to. But instead, we came in, flew into, well, part of the team flew into Anchorage. I drove, met them at the airport, and then we went on up to Willow. We did our work in Willow, and then my husband and I decided to go to Homer. Now, Homer, Alaska is it's the most southernmost point of Alaska, and it is on the Kenai Peninsula, and it is amazing. When you go, you get the chance to stand out and look at waters that empty into the Baltic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Alaska. It's like you can see forever. There is another island, kind of a national park we could just barely see in the distance. Spellbinding. From the drive into Homer, you can see several volcanoes. It's part of the Ring of Fire up there, and some people are not always aware of that. So it's absolutely stunning. And let's see, Irene is saying, I would love to drive in a Tesla. Wow, can't imagine. I can't imagine that either. Now, the road, you're talking about the Dalton Highway, driving from Fairbanks on up. And the Dalton Highway is not a nice, paved, 4-lane highway. It's a wide highway, but okay, fun fact. or a story. I drove from Fairbanks up to the Arctic Circle. The Dalton was rough. It's kind of a gravel type mixture. You'll be doing every state, and if so, doing them in alphabetical order since you did Alabama last week. I may skip around some. I may just skip around. So I think next week I've got Kentucky on the list. I'll have to look and see there. So yeah. But my experience driving the Dalton Highway, I drove from Fairbanks up to the Arctic Circle. My husband drove from the Arctic Circle back. Dalton Highway, trucks have the right of way. So if you see a large truck, pull over. Make sure you give the trucks as big of a space as you can. The road is wide. It will accommodate a couple of trucks passing. Not too much problems there. But here's the big thing. You got gravels flying everywhere. And when the Dalton says 35, 30 miles an hour, then yes, I do have Iowa on the list, Dr. Dan. Absolutely. So, and on the Dalton, if you're told 30, 35 miles an hour, there will be places where you're going to go 15 because the road can be rough and pitted. And I drove on rough, pitted road from Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle. But they do come through and they grade the road to flatten it and level it out. So while we're at the Arctic Circle spending the night, and we spent the next day at the Arctic Circle sign, posing and talking to people and just generally having a great time. We're doing that. And then time for my husband to drive us back home on this nicely graded, flattened road because they had come through and graded it. I was so jealous because I got deep ruts and gravel, and it's not the worst road I've ever been on, but it's getting close. And then the next day we have relatively level. And let's see, Dr. Dan says, hope you do Iowa. That's where I'm at. Yes. Iron Fire Horse says, I always get away from big trucks. Really not a bad idea, especially on the Dalton. And she says, I got hit by one once while I was stopped. Holy cow, were you okay? And she says, hello, Dr. Dan. So, and hello, Iron Fire Horse. Oh, for a shout out, I just talked about it. What is the name of the road that you drive on from Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle? Name of the road from Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle. Can we guess? This is for a shout out. And let's see, Irene says, yes, it was crazy. It kept picking us up and dropping us. LOL. He didn't realize. No injuries at all. Wow. All that and no injuries? Wow. I'm really impressed. I don't know what kind of car you were in, but it's impressive. Wow. Irene says she missed a question. Okay. Name of the road from Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle that you drive on. The Alaska Road. It's something highway. And I have a tweet. Hold on. Yes, but you got it. but I'm only going to count it if you're in the chat, Gloria. I told you this. Okay, then Irene says, oh no, you said it like 20 times. Ha ha, no idea. Okay. Well, I haven't heard from Dr. Dan, but I'm going to go ahead and call it at this point, and that is Dalton Highway. Or I would have also accepted the Dalton. Either one's fine. If you ever see the TV show Ice Road Truckers, which you may be able to download or to stream from Amazon Prime, if you see that, then that's the Dalton. But now they do it in winter, and I was doing it in summer. And while we were talking there, I pulled up a little video. Let me see. Oh, Irene hasn't had breakfast yet. Okay, well, we'll give you a break. Let me go to this Chrome tab here. And hopefully we can get some sound coming through. This is actually my husband and I when we were gassing up. Yep, there you go. $5.49 at the Yukon River crossing. So there we go. And that clip is on the channel Gas on the Dalton Highway. But this was in 2015. So if you're going to go up there, double check Gas Buddy. If you can't get it from Gas Buddy, you're going to have to make some phone calls. So I-49 in 2015 Yukon River crossing. That is one of the stops between Fairbanks and the Arctic Circle. All right. We're rocking on through today. Okay, it says new comments, and it won't let me find them. Okay. An Iron Fire Horse says, I've heard of it, haven't watched it. Need food for my brain for sure. Fariana's vlogs in here. Hey, Fariana. How are you? How are you, Fariana? I hope your day is going well. All right. So next up, let's see. Oh, speaking of the Yukon River crossing, that brings me to the Yukon River. The Yukon River is the third longest river in the country. Third longest. And it is 2,000 miles long. So remember that. 2,000 miles. Hey, Fariana, that is wonderful news. Go you. Very, very good. Yeah. And Fariana's been working on her diet, and she just informed us that she is down 6 pounds. So we're going to celebrate that. Way to go. So, and I will say that I did not look up yet to see what the two longest rivers are in the U.S. because we're talking about Alaska. At 2,000 miles, Yukon River. We would be remiss in talking about Alaska if we did not mention Denali. And Mariana says the Mississippi River is the longest. And but I don't know what number 2 is. And so I'll have to look that up. But Mississippi River's the longest, Fariana says, and I do believe she's right. If somebody wants to take time later and look it up, leave it in the comment section below if we're not right. And if you want to see what the second longest river is, you can look that up. And I'll give you a shout out for that. Just leave it in the comments after the show. We have to talk about Denali or Denali. I have to stop and think, because with Denali, there's three things about the Denali that's kind of confusing for people. Mariana's on it. She says that the Missouri is second. So, Fariana, you're going to get the shout out. If you look below in the description box, you see where the shout outs are from last week, and that's where your shout out's going to go next week. Fariana says she homeschools and did rivers last year. There you go. There you go. That is cool. All right, Denali. Let me go back and explain about Denali just a minute. Denali used to be known as Mount McKinley. The name has been changed to reflect its original and more accurate name, and that stands for the Great One. When it was discovered, white Europeans, they named it after McKinley, which was a senator, I believe, from Ohio. But it has changed back to Denali. Now, there's 3 things about Denali that get to be confusing when you're talking about it. There is Denali Mountain. That is the mountain itself that used to be Mount McKinley. And then that is in Denali National Park. So we have that. But surrounding the national park, on the edge of it, is Denali State Park. So you've got Denali Mountain, Denali National Park, Denali State Park, and then you have Denali Park Village. Okay, so when you hear somebody talk about Denali, you can ask them, "Oh, did you see the mountain, or do you know about the mountain?" Or you can try to get them to clarify national park, state park, and so forth. Denali Mountain is the tallest mountain in America, and it is over 20,000 feet. Okay, massive. Sometimes you can actually see it. Hi, AOK Foraging and Adventures. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We are just talking about Denali Mountain National Park, State Park, and Village is what we're on now. And don't forget, you all, please drop a like if you do like the live stream. Denali Mountain used to be Mount McKinley. It's over 20,000 feet. And the very funny thing is, sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't. Now, how crazy is that? Okay, you think that a 20,000 foot high mountain would be visible all over everywhere, and that you could see it and there would be no problem, and it would be nice, clear, unmistakable. That would make sense. But that's not the case at all. One of the first times that you actually can see Denali Mountain is when you're coming and you're driving Anchorage on a Willow. Just as you get into Willow, you go over the hill, and as you come over the hill, there's a small pull-off area to the right, and you can sometimes see Denali from there. Actually, a little harder to see from right at the national park sometimes. And the reason I keep saying sometimes you can see it is Denali is such a huge mountain that it forms its own weather patterns. And that's why sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't, because snowstorms, fog, ice storms, all of that around the mountain. And sometimes you can look directly at where it's supposed to be, and you can see it, and then sometimes it's like it's not even there. So when you go to Alaska and you go to see the mountains, some people have to go, I kid you not, 2 and 3 and 4 times before they can actually see the mountain. It's insane. I just want to say. But it's also amazing that you have this experience where you're seeing a mountain that's forming its own weather. And that's kind of a humbling experience. Now, we're familiar with weather on the ground may be different than what you have higher elevations up in the mountains. But to think about the mountain actually having its own thing going, to me, is just incredible. So you may look at it and part of the mountain may be clear, and then part of it may be snowy, foggy, and you can't see that part. It's amazing. So if you go to Alaska and you can make time to go on up and see Denali, the mountain, make time to do that. The other thing is the mountain is surrounded by the amazing national park. This national park has amenities that you would think of, expect with a national park. The visitor center, museum, they got like a little food kind of grill area. Wonderful exhibits in the museum. But there is and they've got a large paved parking lot, but there is a fee for that. So don't forget to pay your fee at the visitor center because some of the park rangers get kind of grumpy. When you go to Denali, the national park, a lot of people don't realize that you can see a free sled dog demonstration. Go to the visitor center, catch the shuttle from the visitor center to see the sled dogs. Now that shuttle is free. And then see the sled dog demo, and then come back down to the visitor center. The demo is free. It's a lot of fun. And after the demo, you get to pet the sled dogs. Just really kind of cool. But a lot of people will spend a lot of money just to see a sled dog demonstration, like if they're coming in on a cruise or they're taking any kind of tour or whatnot. And they don't know that when they get to Denali National Park, they can see the sled dog demo and actually pet some of the dogs, and they don't have to pay. If you're going and you just want to see a demo, don't pay the big bucks. Just wait. And when you get to Denali, go see the sled dog demo. If you are driving, you still need to park at the visitor center and take the shuttle because you can't really drive up in there. So do plan on taking the shuttle. Also, from the visitor center, if you're driving, there is an amazing drive that goes down into more of the center of the park. But there is a point at which cut that off, and that point is called the Savage River area. And once you get there, there is interpretive centers, there's a restroom, pit toilets, no water, okay? Wilderness, the way it goes. In that parking area, you can see the Savage River. You can go out, you can walk in it, and do whatever you want to do. Take photos, watch for wildlife, try to see whatever you can, the mountain, whatever. You can't go beyond that point unless you were on a bus tour. And there are several different types of bus tours, and they're kind of expensive. But what I did and what I always suggest is if you're going to go up there, take one day at the park and do a bus tour the next day. Because you're not going to arrive first thing in the morning. You're going to arrive late morning or in the afternoon at the national park. You kind of want to spend some time going through the visitor center, looking at the museum, the bookshop that's there, and kind of get a feel for it. Go see the sled dog demo. And then the next day, catch one of the tours. Now, we were on a tour that was 9 hours. It about killed us. But it went deep into Denali National Park. So we got to see a mama grizzly playing with her baby. And then we saw a couple of other grizzlies, and we saw a wolf kill, and we saw some other wolves. And this area, it's so unique that and where's Fariana? Fariana, you're going to love this if you don't already know it. But yeah, we did. We saw the baby bears, grizzlies even. They have this frog up there, and we got to see it because the ranger pointed it out to us. And it's not a very big frog. It actually freezes. And then it thaws out and it comes back to life. And it is just the coolest thing. I mean, the idea that there would be this frog that freezes and then thaws, so cool, so cool. So, all right. We were just talking about Denali, the mountain, a minute ago. For a shout out, what was the first, not first name, what was the previous name for Denali that was given to it by folks from the lower 48? And yes, Farianne is right on the frogs. And it's just cool. Heard of the boiling frog? Yep. They freeze, and then there's a substance in their blood that allows them. It's kind of an antifreeze thing, from what I understand, and it allows them to thaw. Okay. So the name of the mountain, though, we didn't always call it Denali in the lower 48. What did we call it? What was the other name for it? Marianne is right. 2/3 of their body is water. So, all right, I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. The name of the mountain. Previous name. Because I don't see it up in the chat box. There we go. Okay, well, when you come up with the other name for Denali Mountain, just type it into the chat box. We're going to get McKinley. Yes. Mariana got it. Now, she's already gotten one shout out. Now she's on her second. Mariana, I'm going to do that by Twitter, since you've already got one link that's going to be going down below. So you got it. Yay. And I'm Iron Fire Horse. Irene, I'm going to go ahead and give you that one too. And we're going to link you in the description. Fariana says, oh, wow, I'm terrible at mountains too. I got you. Okay. I finally got this working where I can put some of your comments up. Awesome. Whoops. Okay. The other thing about Denali is Denali State Park. There really is, if you go up there, there's a really good viewing area for Denali Mountain at the Denali State Park viewing area north. And they've got those really cool binocular things. And there is an interpretive plaque there that will tell you not just Denali, but the other mountain peaks that you can see. And if the mountain is out, which is what they call it when you can see it, then you can get a really good view of it from Denali State Park. But there is a day use fee for the state parks, and that varies. It's subject to change. Right now, it's like $5 for the day. But if you go, always double check the fees, because they do change. Okay, and that's just the way it is. Can't help that. They change it. I think they review it annually or semi-annually. What I was told. So go ahead and check. But that's a really good viewing area. Another point that you may find interesting is the bears. Okay. Alaska has black bears, brown bears, and grizzly bears. Now, the black bears are just, I don't want to say regular bears, but they're smaller. They're black. They don't tend to get as large. And if you're familiar with Tennessee, they can be scared off relatively easily. About loud noises will do it here just about every time. In addition to that, there is brown bears and grizzly bears. These are essentially the same bears as far as size and shape, but there is some choices that they make, or not choices, but there is some differences in their food and temperament. And so they actually have two different names. So you have brown bears, which are more along the coastal areas, and they have more access to fish and plant life and so forth. You have grizzly bears, and the grizzlies are more in like the center of Alaska. Iron Fire Horse, you probably have grizzlies where you are. Okay, you've seen brown and black bears. Just got to go to the dump. Yeah, there you go. There you go. But there is a difference in the bears, and they're not just grizzlies. And that really throws a lot of people when I'm talking to them, and because they're always like, "Did you see a grizzly?" And I'll be like, "No, today I saw a black bear." And they're like, "Black bear? Why?" They've got grizzlies. They don't have black bears. So there is this little perception, I think, that of what Alaska should be versus sometimes what it is. And it is this freaking amazing place. But they don't just have one kind of bear. Plus, they do have the polar bears. But when I talk about lower Alaska, people just don't think about black bears, brown bears, and grizzlies. They always have leapt into grizzlies. I think personally that's one of the really cool things about Alaska. So, but that's just me. And Iron Fire Horse says no grizzlies here. Maybe further north. I'm in Ontario. Probably so. I forgot that you're in Ontario. But I did get this really cool picture. I'm going to see if I can share this here. Share the screen. My picture of the grizzly here. If I can pull it up, it's on Facebook. Now, did I just look at my browser? Of course I did. This is my grizzly photo. We were just kind of driving down the Alaska Highway, and this little guy was sauntering down the side of the road. So I was able to get a really neat shot quickly because I didn't want to hang around. Yeah, there this guy was. You never know where you're going to see him. Apparently, to see brown bears, you go to the dump in Ontario. And of course, there are places where you can pay a fee and go to see them. And we were talking about Denali a few minutes ago, and this is a shot of Denali that I got. You can kind of see in this how, like right here, you can see the top of it, but it's kind of obscured by these clouds. So you can see part of it, but then you've got the cloud layer because it creates the weather. And it would be easy. In fact, about 20 minutes later, I'm going to say these clouds had come on over. So it covered up the mountain in its entirety, and all you saw was these. If that gives you an idea, and this was taken in 2017, but if that gives you an idea about Denali, so there you go. Oh, thank you. We have polar bears, but they are endangered. Yes. Climate change is huge in Alaska. I'm going to guess, Irene, that's probably huge where you are too. There are some massive differences in how people are going to have to live. Not only are they having problems with fires now, but they've also got wells that are drying up. And I'm talking about town wells, wells that feed communities, creeks that are drying up, creeks that have to provide water. They've also got the ground that is thawing, where used to they would have a root cellar that would keep vegetables cold and keep them secure throughout the winter. Now the ground's warming up enough that that's not able to happen. You know, yeah, it's scary. This kind of, what really kind of freaked me out. Okay, I was planning a mission trip for this summer. One of the things about the mission trip is people want to know how to dress. You know, do they bring a lightweight jacket or something heavy? And I was like, well, it's going to be 104 prediction the week before I leave in Anchorage. If you can imagine Anchorage, Alaska, on up that high. I think it only hit the low 90s. But yeah, I mean, it's insane, the climate change. So instead of people bringing coats, they brought short sleeve shirts. And when my husband and I were up there at the Arctic Circle back in 2017, we were wearing t-shirts and shorts at the Arctic Circle because there was no need for anything heavier. And I am a cold person. So yeah, it's crazy. So please, I'm just going to toss this out there, recycle. Even if you don't believe in climate change, I actually do, but even if you don't, then just in case it's impacting the earth, go ahead and recycle anyway. Fire Horse said, I was reading on the Arctic ice melt. I couldn't finish the article. Yes. But you know, that's something that unless we don't get the total picture here, I think, in the lower 48, like they're seeing it in Alaska. And this time, the fires were just crazy. I was really, I get kind of emotional on that. I drove through one area going up to Alaska. There was so much drought. And it was so dry that I had fire on both sides of the road. And the folks from Canada were just waving us through, and we had the pilot car and stuff, and smoke. The visibility was limited, and you couldn't really see. And you have to keep the vents closed in the van because you don't want the smoke getting in the van, even though it's going to get in anyway. And that is one of the realities of climate change. Let's see, Iron to Fire Horse says the stats were so astronomical, it was beyond my comprehension. Yep. Yes. And I'm going to see, I may have, let me see if I got some photos from up there. Because I want to highlight for people who are looking at this later to hopefully understand more of what's going on. Yes, it's Tuesday trivia, and I want us to have fun, but I also want people to understand about the land and what people are facing. So let's see if I can pull it up. I've got a couple of just phenomenal shots here too. Let me just kind of open this up a minute. Share screen. Chrome tab, photos. Here we go. So this is on the Kenai Peninsula, which is going toward Homer. So it is lush, and it's beautiful, and it's phenomenal. Prices are a little high, though, just to give you a comparison. Irene, I don't know how this is going to compare to where you are, because this is in USD. But let me pull up this one because you can read the tag. On sale, $4 for a loaf of bread. That's Willow, Alaska. And we've got, Well, let me just pull up the school supplies. You can get school supplies right before school starts here at not very much money. And this was right before school started in Alaska, $2.29 for a 3-pack. That's a little bit bad, but not terrible. We were paying 50 cents for these packs of notebook paper here, and they're $2.49. This is at the Fred Meyer in Willow, Alaska. The prices are kind of higher. Let me get to one of the photos real quick of the fire situation. I don't have flames in this one. Don't worry. And of course, they have glaciers too. Unfortunately, some of the glaciers are melting. Oh, I will show you. My dog was the darling when we went on the mission team trip this past year. He hammed it up. This is actually taken on different dates. He would lay down and wait for somebody to come and pet him. So his job was to be my service dog and kind of the comfort dog for the team. Let's go. These are shots at Denali. I'm just quickly going through here. Here we go. I actually had this set so I could go straight to it, and then in bumping things around, I messed it up. Here we are. No? Well, if I can't find this in 2 seconds, I'm going to quit screen sharing and give you all a break here. Okay. I'll look for it later and I'll post the link down below. But anyway, it's just the realities of climate change. Irene is saying that up north in Ontario has prices like that, I think higher. I know people up there have flour and other stuff flown up in buckets. It's cheaper to make your own stuff. Yes. Yes. So the prices are a little insane. And it's because of transportation. It's because of just trying to get the stuff up there. Iron Fire Horse says in central Ontario, our prices are getting up there, but not quite as extortionate. Yeah. It's just the difficulties. Fresh fruit, scandalous. Just saying. Bananas, scandalous. But, hopefully that will continue changing as transportation gets better and they come up with new ways to be more fuel efficient and so forth. So hopefully my hope is that will impact some of the prices. So maybe it's not going to be quite so terrible. Someday we can hope, right? Yeah. So, well, that's part of my trivia for Alaska, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something that will help make your trip easier if you ever get to go. And I really hope you do, because it's an amazing experience. You do have to plan ahead, though. You do have to prepare because of the various differences in terrain and services. If you're in, say, Anchorage, Wasilla, Willow, Fairbanks, your towns, Soldotna, Homer, you have zero problem with services. But if you keep on going up and you're around like Denali, definitely bring your lunch. Oh, the other thing I have on my note to mention, we talked about Denali Mountain real quick and the national park and the state park. Fun fact, Denali National Park. There are blueberries right at the edge of the national park, and you can pick them. And you can also actually take them to a park ranger if you're not sure what you're picking, and they'll go through and sort it. And one thing to remember is if it's white, it's not right, so don't touch it. If it's a berry, do not pick it. The place to go for supplies and have a place to stay while you're up there is Denali Park Village, and that's a small town. But places to stay, shops, restaurants, everything that you would want. But fun fact, there is a shuttle that runs. Most of the hotels and so forth have a shuttle, 24 hours transportation, because for people who go to visit, they will go fly into Anchorage. You can actually catch the Alaska Railroad from Anchorage to Denali and spend time seeing Denali. They know you're not going to have transportation, so shuttles, check them out. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to put these shout outs down for the next video. And Mariana, I'm going to get your shout out on Twitter in just a minute. So thank you all for coming in. Don't forget to like the video, share it. Always want to be #BeBodacious, because you don't want to let life get in the way of living. It's too short. It's too much fun. Just enjoy it. Well, thanks for hanging out. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Iron Fire Horse. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you next time. So, bye, you all. Thank you.